And then you gently let go. You still feel the touch on your skin, but you slowly separate your hands and bring them into prayer pose. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mitroma Amritangamaya Aum Shanti Shanti Shanti. Inhale deeply, suspend your breath. And we exhale. Slowly opening our eyes, bringing our arms out to the side, palms facing upward. Let me show you the posture first. So this will be my inhalation. On the exhalation, all my fingertips with the tip of my thumb touch my shoulders. That's my first exhale. Then I inhale and the back of my hands touch behind my head. So my elbows pointing up towards the ceiling. Then I exhale again and I inhale. So it's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. All breath is through the nostrils. So you want to make sure the back of your hands touching behind your head, and the tendency could be that we bring our head forward. That's not the point. You just see that you reach up, you lift your diaphragm. Close your eyes once you feel comfortable to do so, and just move your arms, move your breath. Move at your own pace. When our diaphragm is relaxed, it's great for our breathing, but it's also great for all the organs beneath. We go for 30 more seconds. If this is a posture that's a little hard for you, then that's a posture for you to do until it feels easy. It's great for our shoulders, for our neck, to break some deposits. Last round. Good, and then keep your fingertips in front, thumb in the back. Now you exhale and you bring your elbows all the way to your rib cage. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. The back of your hands touch again behind your head. I want you to hit the side of your rib cage. Have an emphasis on your exhalation. In yoga, the seventh rib is always seen as the rib of creativity. This is a nice sinus cleanser also. Last minute. A little more, keep up. I know the arms feel heavy by now. Let's see if we can keep moving. Last one. Good. Keep your fingers here, thumbs in the back. Inhale, twist to the left, exhale, right. And take your head really with you into both directions. It's best to do this with your eyes closed because we have an impact right now on our liver. Otherwise, we could feel slightly dizzy. Then we come to the center. Inhale deeply here. And exhale, bring your hands into the Pran Mudra. So that's really a good mudra for your eyesight. So the tip of your thumb touches the tip of your ring finger and pinky. Index and finger tips touch. Yeah. You keep them really straight. Keep them in front of your solar plexus and you start to rotate. So the mudra, the finger position can be held 24/7. It's so good and it's really great for our eyesight. So if you watch a movie or do something where you don't need your hands, just sit in your Pran Mudra. You don't have to do this. This is just an exercise. Yeah? And rotate your hands now as fast as you can. Align the movement with your breath. So it could be a fast breath. Just for a minute. Stir up the electromagnetic field around your solar plexus and your heart center. Last 15 seconds. Inhale deeply. Now keep the mudra. Bring your hands onto your knees, palms facing upward. Just keep the mudra. Inhale in 2 segmented breath. Exhale 2 segmented breath. So it's little zips of air that you take in and you also release like. On the 2 inhalations, you become bigger. On the 2 exhalations, your navel moves towards your spine. So that's important. You can look at my hand position. I'm moving with my breath. Last minute. You take a deep inhalation. We're suspending our breath. We pull our perineum, our sex organ navel in and squeeze them up as much as we can. We hold the breath for another 10 seconds so that the energy can be consolidated and concentrated inside of us. And then open mouth, exhale. Inhale through your nose. Exhale, open mouth. One more time, inhale. And exhale. Good. And you can continue sitting in this mudra. Yeah, just make sure your index and your middle finger are really straight while you're listening to Nirmalana.
Okay, Siddhi, thank you. Mm. Mm. To my exquisitely beautiful women who I adore, I'm happy to see every one of your faces. I have to keep this in gallery mode because I want to see everyone. I want to know who's here and where you are and what you're doing. And can't wait till I can see you all in person at some point. So today we have Lisa is going to lead us at the end of our Sangha for an additional half hour, which I think you all know, in a shamanic journey. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Lisa, for our first highlights and resources gathering. I have a list going on for every month for the rest of the year. One day, one Saturday a month, we have someone offering something. So we're expanding and including our Sangha members with all of these beautiful talents and modalities and teachings. And we bring so much to this circle. Every woman on this call has an outpouring, an offering in so many different ways that we receive even sort of subliminally just in their conversation or something they say, but they actually have an offering that they've developed that may be creativity into the world or a teaching that they're studying or something. Everyone here is offering something really beautiful. And as a whole, we're an organic organization. As a whole, something shifts for us. All these pieces make something different for us as a whole. And it's really exquisite. So today, to tag on to what we were chatting about in our check-in around aging and vitality and the beauty of these 93-year-olds and 97-year-olds, or the ages of these women who are showing up in the world vibrant and vital and alive and awake. We need to start that process now. We need to have a concentration on how do we hold this vibrancy, both mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in us as a practice, so that when we are 92 and 95 and 97, it's already there. It's already part of the way we are delivering ourselves and to the world. And I want us to have that opportunity now to start setting the foundation for that. Most of us have practices and ways that we are attempting to pull all those pieces together. But I was listening to some Joe Dispenza. I'm sure all of you know who Joe Dispenza is. I was listening to one of his talks, and it reminded me of the science of change, the science of changing our mind and our disposition about how we are in the world with respect to our emotional, physical, spiritual presence. And it was all about deciding that you're going to hold on to that vibrancy and then executing it and how to do that. And so I want to talk a little bit about that because it requires the way that this was said. It wasn't actually Joe Dispenza that said this. Somebody else said this. And I was so struck by the words, the language. It requires staying vibrant throughout life, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, requires maintenance of an authority to be unique and never give up. And I was thinking about authority. That's interesting. It's an interesting word, not responsibility, but authority. And authority gives us a certain power, a certain right to this responsibility and to this nurturing. It's not just another task to do in our day. It's part of what the gift that's been given to us, the agency that's been given to us to be able to take care of and to nurture ourselves into the world through all of the stages of our life. All of the stages. Every stage has its own unique challenge and its own unique expression. But how are we becoming the women who live into this as we go through the aging process? How are we modeling that for other women, younger women, that the grace that we can, at which we can mature into the fullness of who we are, is under our authority. We have all we need to make that happen. We have agency over our vitality, our aliveness, and our expression into the world. And are we taking advantage of that? Are we taking that not as another responsibility, but as something that it's like a juiciness? We get to be involved in our own juiciness. It's not somebody outside or something outside or an activity that we go to that makes us juicy. We are the ones that are initiating the juiciness inside of ourselves. And that then bubbles over and spills into the world and into our family and into our communities. We have the agency and the authority to do that for ourselves. Nobody else has that for us. And so if we want our lives to be an expression of juiciness, which I don't know about you ladies, but I want to be juicy until the very end, both in my, physical body and in my emotional body and in my spiritual body. For me, that's where joy emanates. It comes out of the juiciness. And so I want to look at what is not my responsibility. Responsibility is my day-to-day thing. Yes, I have responsibility for it, but I have agency and I have authority over this system. Very cool. It's just so, for me, that's juicy. And so I want us to look at, when I think of agency and authority, I think power and freedom. I really think freedom. I'm not dependent upon any outside activity, person, relationship, or the weather, or anything for my juiciness to prevail. I'm only responsible to keep it going inside myself. Everybody else has their own responsibility. I have ways of contributing into the world, but I'm not responsible for other people's juiciness. They have agency and authority over their own. So how do we maintain this juiciness? How do we maintain this authority that we execute through the fiat of our energy, through our decisions, through our choices, through our mental constructs of how we see the world, so that we can choose to express our life in the way we want to express it? We have freedom to express into the world any way we want to. That doesn't mean that circumstances, that we have control over all the circumstances. Of course we don't. And it doesn't mean that we can choose, I want to be a concert violinist just because I want to. You would have to obviously put the work in, but an attitude and in our thought process and in the allowing whatever it is that's wanting to come out of us and be expressed into the world to happen, we have the authority and the agency over that. And if you want to be in alignment with what the universe is asking from you, you have alignment over all of that, because the universe does not ask you to do something that you're not able to do. You may not be prepared to offer something into the world, but you're able to. That's how it works. The universe is in collaboration and co-creation with us. So what it is that we yearn to offer into the world, that we're called to, is automatically that which we have the capacity for. It only requires that we step up and do it, but we have the capacity. So we're never asked to do something that isn't within our range. You're called. You may be wanting to do something that even bubbles beyond that. You can do that. You can do whatever it is that you feel you're being called to, but the universe will call you to something that you can express beautifully, naturally. And often we just spend our time looking everywhere else, but where the universe is calling us. We look over here and we look over here and we keep asking for this other thing that we think we should be doing. And we never actually listen to what is the intuitive nature of the call. And exerting our authority and our agency over this system allows us to hear the call, whatever that call is. We're each a unique being being called to do something unique. So the question is, what is the maintenance? How do we maintain this authority? And one of the things that Joe Dispenza talks a lot about is the focus that's required for us. So coincidentally, the maintenance of the authority that we want to have, the juiciness we want to have, that requires focus, is very similar to the focus that is required, that science has seen when we integrate the physical body and the spiritual body and we see what happens. It shows, we have learned that focus is required to change our mindset, and our mindset is required to change our health, our overall health. Until we can take command over our mindset, it's a jumble and disarray of reactions and of health predicaments that we don't have control over. But as soon as we take control over our mindset and we set the stage for our own health and vitality, then that starts to happen. You might be fortunate, it might be happening anyway for you, but as you get older and as we have more encumbrances of age, whether it's our sight or whatever it happens to be, we need to have already maintained and created this balance point for us to work from. We need to already have the discipline of the focus so that it's not a big deal. It's not a big shift. It's simply living into, and as those changes come to us naturally, we can live into it because our focus, which another way of saying that is our awareness. So that's consciousness. We are little bits and pieces of consciousness. That's what we are. And consciousness is the most important thing that we can be in touch with. So we already have that. We have to activate it in a way that allows it to be simply available to us at all times. And that requires us focusing and training our mindset to work in the way we want it to work, so it doesn't run amok when someone tells us something or we see something or something happens in our life that is disruptive to us, that we aren't hijacked, that we have the focus and the stability and the foundation for us to be in charge of what's happening in this system, and we stay juicy and we stay vital. Focus is awareness. So we've talked a lot about awareness as a spiritual discipline. And I'm trying to come at it in lots of different ways so that one way might resonate for you of how we stay in awareness. One of the things that I used to do that was really helpful was that I wore a watch that had an alarm on it that I set to go off every hour, day and night. It could wake me up. It was fine. If I woke up to it, I would take 30 seconds when that alarm would go off. I would stop the alarm and then I would stop what I was doing and I would center and ground myself and be present and aware. Because I wanted to root that into my system so naturally that I didn't have to think about it, that it starts to be the beautiful unceasing prayer, unceasing awareness, that your consciousness becomes aware 24/7. It isn't something you sit and go, okay, I think I'll be conscious now. You practice the art of being conscious all the time, being in awareness. And when you're in consciousness and awareness, then when outside influences come to you, you have a much better chance of being able to stay stable around them because you are in this equilibrium, a state of equilibrium. But it isn't going to happen because you wish it would happen or you want it to happen. It's only going to happen if we practice the focus and the awareness, that we set up a discipline of staying in that. Whether you want to use prayer as an entry point and be an unceasing prayer and gratitude, you can choose gratitude or prayer or presence or a meditative mind. For every time your mind goes to anything, you want it to return back to being aware, to saying, I'm in total awareness right now. I'm aware of all of the sensory things that are input that's coming. I'm aware of what's bubbling up in me. I'm aware where something's getting stuck in my system. I'm aware it's in my solar plexus. I'm aware that I didn't like that comment. I'm so aware that I can't go into all of these other judgments and reactions and fears easily. I can't easily do that because I've already chosen to be in awareness and to stay present. That keeps me in the present moment. I can't go back in the past and pull that into this moment because I can't stay in both of those in that way. So if I stay present and in awareness, I'm automatically having an experience that's current rather than being hijacked by the past or worried about what it's going to become in the present. Presence and awareness, self-observation, these are the key to us having consciousness present in our system 24/7. This is what we want, because when we're in that stage and in that state, we have juiciness, because everything that's coming in is fuel for the fire of the Agni of our experience. Everything. There's not anything that's happening in our life that is not spiritual. And when we separate it out, this is a spiritual category and this is my other category. Now you're bifurcating your life. Everything that we do, from our feet on the earth to the insult that somebody throws out about whatever, everything's part of the spiritual journey, not because it's easy or hard or because it allows us to be present. And then whatever it is, you deal. You do that all the time, but you often get hijacked by the judgment or the impression or the old pattern. So we want to change our patterns so that we don't have a pattern that reflects who we were. What we want to be doing is to reflecting who we want to become or who we are. So one of the practices that we can participate in is starting our day with the vision of who am I in the world? Who do I want to be in the world today? And if there are pieces of you that you would rather leave in yesterday, my impatience or my whatever it happens to be, whatever is coming up for you that you know intuitively is not a piece you want to carry into your life as a regular behavior, you want to drop it. This requires the exact practice that I'm talking about of focus, awareness, self-observation. We can't change our behaviors and our patterns without being in consciousness, awareness, and self-observation. It's not possible because it's not going to randomly change the neuro patterns that we've already set. We have to consciously reform new neural connections. Neurons that fire together stay together. If we start a new pattern that we are practicing and we ingrain it into our system, then we're going to automatically do that new pattern. So if you can stay in unceasing prayer or unceasing gratitude and can be in the presence of the moment of how it's unfolding, you have the capacity to change your whole mindset. So I invite you to take this week and take every morning as an opportunity to set the stage for how it is you want to be for the day in the new patterns and the new behaviors you want to bring in. Whether it's, I want to be in a state of gratitude every second, that can be your thing. Then every second that your mind goes to something, you want to trigger it to go back, I'm in gratitude. Oh yeah, I'm in gratitude. And you go and do another task and then your mind starts to wander to something. You go, oh no, but I'm in gratitude. That's where I'm present right now. I'm present in gratitude. I'm not present in, and that is an overlay to everything else I do. Because we find that our mind spends most of its time wandering around where we don't need to be. It's not that what the action that we're doing is unimportant. We're just not actually in that action. We're into something else. You're doing something and your mind is doing something else. We want our mind and what we're doing and our whole being to be in concert. We have to be conscious to make that happen. And we have to start a focused practice of every time we think about it, whether we use our phone to go off every 15 minutes for a week to try to get ourselves into that rhythm. It's a rhythm that you learn and then you don't unlearn it. Sometimes when I've heard of physical therapists who are trying to change the way that you're moving your body because you're having some sort of a problem with your hip or your knee or whatever, they'll teach you a new way to walk. And you have to practice, stepping in a certain way repeatedly until it becomes your natural gait. They don't just tell you once and you go, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. It doesn't happen that way. You have to decide to create a new neural pathway so that when you step down, you step a certain way. And sooner or later, it becomes the new habit. And now you're in a different balance in the physiology of your body. We're using that same concept, that same template to be able to change anything we want about how we think, how we react, how we move our body. Maybe you want to slow down and you decide that I'm going to consciously slow my physicality because I want to slow everything about my experience. I just want to be more leisurely. You're each going to have your own desire of how you shift and refine the system that is you. But our way in is through our consciousness, our presence, our focus, our self-observation. It isn't going to happen because we wish it would happen. That's not how it happens. It happens through consciousness and the commitment to being conscious in every second. And then you can shift anything you want. Any old pattern, any old belief system, anything you want can be rewired in your brain. And you can start working on self-healing. You have the opportunity to decide, I'm going to feel different in my body. I'm going to contribute to the healing of my system. I'm not going to wait for an outside person to do it. I might collaborate with them, a doctor or a healer or whatever, but I'm going to be the agency and the fiat that's driving this. We're not turning our lives over to anybody else to decide how it is we're going to be vibrant. We're going to decide that, and then we're going to focus ourselves on that so that that vibrancy is the space that we live in all the time. We don't choose to go in and out of it. We are it. And then when we're 95 and 97, we're still going to be vibrant and getting on Zoom together. Okay? So this week, I want you to take time in the morning, please. Invite yourself into your own reality. Don't let the day just unfold and be whatever. Invite yourself into how this is going to work for you. If you're interested in something very fun about this, watch the movie, if you haven't seen it, The Bleep. Old movie, but it's all about our consciousness and how we make choices about how our day unfolds and how our life unfolds. Fabulous movie. Let's see what happens this week, ladies.
Thank you, my dear. I think everything you said comes back to that we need to be open to change. Yeah, and also invite the change for ourselves. So I want to use a movement this morning that has actually to do with the water element, but it also impacts our liver, our spleen, our immune system, because they all have to do with our change. So your arms will move actually like waves. So you bring your arms up, your hands are totally relaxed, and then you bring your fingertips down and then forward, and you push out. And then like a wave in the ocean, you come back, bringing the arms back up, and then you go back down and forward. You're stretching the meridian that governs these organs. And you just stay in this movement of constant coming and going, being in the change. There's no stagnation here, it's just movement.
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्।
Very gently bring your hands back, bring them onto your heart center. Right hand on top of your left. And then take a moment to see who you want to be today. And see yourself at the end of this day, maybe even in bed, lying down, looking at the day that you lived. What did you share? What did you experience? How did you feel? Breathe into your becoming. We bring our hands into prayer pose. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.